Okay. So it's Monday. Hope everyone's doing alright today. We are gonna get back to work here on our water. Don't know if we're gonna finish it today, but we're gonna try. I did manage to get the pad cleaned up a little bit last night. It's still pretty lumpy. A few more weeks before we can replace that, I think. We'll see. Providing I actually hit the amount that I needed, we'll be attempting to replace that probably middle of the month, I'm thinking. Alright, so we're still kind of working on our water area. I am beginning to second guess myself on this color, but meh. Let's add some fun to it, right? Why not? Okay, so see about laying this guy in here. So I hope everybody had a pretty decent weekend. With summer being in full swing now at this point. I'll tell you, last night that moon looked pretty full. I don't think it's technically full until tonight, though. But it was almost kind of eerie. And it sounded like somebody was doing some sort of fireworks show last night. I don't know if it was a private family show that somebody paid for, because I didn't see anything advertised for the area as far as public shows were concerned for last night, because it just kept going on and on and on, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, this seems like more than just some person just setting them off on their own. I know one of the farms around here, the family that owned it, that seemed to be very well known or prominent. They used to do one for the public, but I don't think they've done that for like the last 2 or 3 years, so maybe they did something that was just for family. I don't know. But it did seem to go on forever. It's like a good 20 minutes to a half an hour. I mean, it was loud, but it wasn't so loud that it sounded very close. It could have been somewhere in between city limits and the next town over. That's very possible. Okay. Grab a bit more fluff here. As we continue on filling in our water section. I'm not trying to overlap too much here, so that's why I'm kind of taking that thinner bit and placing that, come back here, over all of the intersecting areas. managed to get a little bit of editing done last night. Not a whole lot, but I got about half-hour video edited down, which doesn't sound like much, but maybe it was more like 40 minutes. It takes a while. With the software that I have. And because I talk with my hands so much. So I am actively working on it. Okay. Well, we must have pulled up something off the mat last night, because I'm not seeing as much other colored fuzz, shall we say, attaching to the back when I'm trying to pull up, so that's good. We're planning on grilling just a couple of things tomorrow. Nothing elaborate or anything. That's for certain. It's just the three of us right now, so don't need to go too heavily into it. Okay. All right, that's not bad. And we'll get to work on this next part. So we are following along with Bob Ross's Joy of Painting tutorials for the third season he did. We are currently following along with episode number 7 of this particular season. I might have to put one more piece on there. That seems to be a little bit wider than I realized. That's fine. And this is episode 7, Quiet Inlet. It's just off of his YouTube channel, and I'll have the link in the video description when it goes over to YouTube for those that want to watch it in full with sound, because a lot of the times we don't actually have it running, and when we do have it running, we don't have the sound turned on, because we don't really need to hear what he's saying to know what we need to do, because we're not using paint, we're using fiber, so it's going to be a little different. So I just kind of need to see where he's going with the paint and how he's getting there to determine how I'm going to approach it with the fluff. It's going to be a little bit different. In how we get there. Okay, so yeah, I think we need a little bit of a patch here, and then we need something in there. I hope we have enough of this color, because now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, either there wasn't as much in this bag as I thought there was, or we are just, like, blowing through it. I didn't think this section was quite that big. Apparently, I was very, very wrong. Sometimes the lighter colors are a little bit trickier when you're doing a large section with them too. Got so many fuzzies on this thing. I have a few of them, but they're all kind of beat up and definitely showing some wear and tear on them. Okay, so we'll get this worked into here. I'm not sure if I still don't need a... No, okay, we're good. Sorry. Didn't mean to show you guys the back of that there. Just trying to see how much light was coming through in that one section to see if it needed another bit of a patch on it, but I think we're alright. Okay. Now, this guy worked into here. Husband's replacement phone actually showed up today, thank goodness. Because his other phone was dying a very slow, miserable death. Hi, Momo. What's up?
He's doing his thing.
Oh, do I need to take Momo?
I mean, if we keep doing it, he's just gonna keep doing it.
What's the matter? Are you okay? Do you not feel good? Are you bored? Can you give me a few minutes? Because you just went out not that long ago. I'm worried you have like a bladder infection or something.
Yeah, except he's not interested in going to the bathroom.
No. Can't help it if he's bored. Like, I know what he wants to do, but it's too hot right now to do that.
Yeah, I'm not up to that. Otherwise, I'd say something.
No, I didn't mean that level. Traffic's a little heavy, buddy. Hi, I don't have any food. I promise. It's not food. Do you really need to pee-pee? You walked away, so you might.
Give me a minute, buddy.
Alright. So let me just finish tapping this in here. Give me 1 minute, guys.
I'll get it. I got it.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm gonna take him outside and leave him outside for a little bit.
You're gonna be with him, right?
Yes, I'm gonna be with
Okay.
him.
Well, the way you said it. Okay. And this overlapped in here. Now I'm probably taking this a little bit lower than I really should, but that's okay. Because then when we bring this bottom color up, I can come up a little bit, and then we won't have any weird, like, overlapping seams or anything. Apparently the dog's been bugging him like every hour, just about wanting to go out. He kind of wants to go across the street and sniff the trees and stuff. We kind of hadn't been letting him do that for a week or two because there was news reports that the dog flu, canine flu, was picking up and going around, and we didn't really want them to get sick, so we kind of stopped that for a week or so. But it's kind of hot out to be walking him across the street on the hot asphalt, and traffic's a little heavy right now. And last night when he wanted to go out, when he was bugging me, we got like 5 steps out the door and somebody shot off a firecracker, and he paused, and you could see the gears turning in his head, like he was thinking about it. And all I said was, you know, quick like a bunny, let's go pee. And he decided to turn around and come back in, and he's like, that's okay. So I was like, you sure there, buddy? He's like, you can go potty. And he's like, no. He doesn't get upset about it as Zuzu does. But he decided he didn't want any parts of whatever the hell was going on out there. So I was like, alright. I suppose that's fine. And I heard some people setting off some firecrackers a little bit ago. I don't even know why the city bothers with an ordinance, because they don't enforce it. City ordinance says only tomorrow. And then for like the next week, we're gonna be finding wrappers and like the casings and stuff from people setting them off that didn't clean up after themselves. And I'm just like, why do we allow this? If people aren't gonna fucking follow the rules and clean up after themselves, I don't understand. Like, this is why we can't have nice things. Because people want to be assholes about shit. And it's not kids that aren't cleaning up after themselves. It's full grown ass adults. Like, come on now. Set a fucking example. But what the fuck do I know? Kids absorb and learn a hell of a lot more than people give them credit for by watching the actions of others. You can talk to them till you're blue in the face, but they're gonna parrot and pick up and default to what they've seen other people do. A lot of them. Maybe not all of them, but a good number. So unless you're doing what you're telling them that they should be doing, it's not gonna do much. Oh, thank you. Kind of half off the screen there. This is actually purple. I don't know. There we go. That's the color it actually is. For some reason, it's not picking up the appropriate color unless my hand's in the way. Whenever I take my hand out, it turns back to gray for some reason. But that is actually purple. It's a light purple, though. We've done a few others. Actually, we've done all of them up to this episode in this season. So there are archives of us working on that on my YouTube channel. Same name as here. It's going to be on the Nisey Needle Felts playlist. Or at least it should be. But thank you for that. I hope you're having a good day. Welcome, welcome. Trying to complete this season. Episode 10 is the infamous cowboy episode. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pull that off. It's the main one I'm unsure of. We'll see. And we do art 2 days a week scheduled. Once in a while, I'll pop in with a bonus art stream late night during the week. I also have a gouache painting project going on where I'm trying to do every single one of his tutorials. From season 1 to season, what is it, 30, 31, whatever's on YouTube that I can get my hands on. We're only 3 episodes in on season 1 though. That's a very small long-term project. As I have time for around some of the other stuff that I've got going on. So we're using acrylic yarn at the moment. I have some roving. I just don't have very much. Like I've got a number of colors. There's just not that much volume of each color because I bought like a tiny little sample pack of colors when I was seeing if this was something I was going to be interested in doing, just to kind of test out the waters. And then I realized I'm going to use a hell of a lot more roving than what they gave me. And then when I was looking into roving prices, I was like, oh god, this shit's expensive for the amount of roving I was going to need. So I was like, we are going to come back and highlight these trees, but that's going to be after we get the rest of the shoreline put in. Right now we are just working on the water. So we didn't do it back when he did the sky, because I was like, yeah, I don't want it bunchy in between. Like, we'll get there when we get there. So this is just, sorry, I had a fuzz or something touching my arm. It distracted me. It's just regular yarn that we have combed out and prepped to put it back into its fluffy state before it was twisted into yarn. And that fits my budget a bit more. It is a bit more prep involved, but it fits my budget a lot better, which is a very, very tiny budget. This is why I hold it down, because if I don't, it's just gonna get sucked in with all the little barbs on the needle. And we're gonna go through a lot more of it a lot faster. So what kind of art are you into? Do you do art? Or are you just passing on through? It's fine if you're just passing through. That's no problem. We used to do art just 1 day a week, but I managed to free up my schedule so that we can do 2, along with the other stuff that we're doing. So we also do gaming. Right now we're working on Coral Island and Planet Zoo. We do 2 days of Planet Zoo. We're working on a solo sandbox zoo where I have a random wheel that we spin to figure out what we're going to build. And I use the animal generator to see what animal is going to go in there. And then I have another zoo that I'm building as kind of a face-off with the husband that we're kind of competing against each other with. So Saturdays are competition zoo against each other. And then we do Coral Island on Thursday. And Tuesday and Wednesday I don't have anything scheduled because the husband used to have a D&D game on Tuesday, but that has ended for right now. And then he used to have a dedicated guys' night with one of his friends, but his friend's work schedule has since changed. So, Now they're doing something on the Friends YouTube channel on Wednesdays, where the husband is doing some like voice acting for him badly. It's just something that they're goofing around with. And Tuesday is open at the moment, but sometimes I'll pop in late night, either Monday night, Tuesday or Wednesday night with a art stream. Sometimes, depends on how I'm feeling. See, if I don't hold it down, it just gets sucked in. And it's all sticking up in the way and stuff, so. Highly recommend the finger protectors, though. Because these needles do have little tiny notches, barbs cut into them to grab the fiber, to shove it down into your layers, to kind of weave them together. And it hurts when it goes into your finger. And it would be quite the pain in the ass to get that out if it gets stuck in there too far. I've just kind of surface poked a couple of times, and even that hurts. So highly recommend these guys, especially if you're doing the critters. I've done a couple of critters. I prefer doing this over critters though, because making the little figurines is a lot harder than it looks. And my fingers don't always like to maneuver the way that they need to. We tried to make my husband a lizard folk D&D character idea that he had been talking about for Christmas. That was an adventure. It was the biggest critter I've ever tried to make. He was about a foot tall, roughly. And I had armature wire skeleton in him just to kind of give him some posability and some stability, so he would stand on his own. But I snapped at least one needle working on him because I kept hitting the wire inside. That one was quite an adventure. Alright. So we're moving along. Not flying, but we're getting there. It's not a fast medium. Well, depends on the size that you're working on, really. I suppose we are working approximately on a piece of felt that's 8 by 10. The outer edge is like 9 by 12, but the inner square is about 8 by 10. And it's just a standard piece of felt from the craft store, nothing fancy. I know there's thicker pieces of felt that you can get as a base, but this is just what we're using because it was what I could get that was in my budget. I've seen some people do videos where they're needle felting on like tote bags and stuff, so you could probably do it on just about any surface that you can get your needle through safely. And I prefer the single needle. I've tried working on the multi-needle handles. Don't like it. It's actually really heavy. I know that sounds silly. Excuse me, but trying to lose my voice suddenly. It actually weighs a little bit more when you get, I mean, these needles weigh like next to nothing, but when you put 3 of them in the clunkier handle, well, I don't know about the 3. My multi-needle is 8. And that's a beast, and that is actually a lot heavier than the single. So I don't really like using him that much because he actually tires my hand out quite a bit. I mean, it sounds silly, but it does. So, I mean, if I used the multi-needle, we'd probably get through it a little bit faster, but I'm okay using the single needle. Definitely recommend the handle. It helps a lot because without the handle, you'd just be holding the needle. Excuse me. And while you can, it's a little awkward to hold on to for a long period of time because it's this thin piece of metal and it goes into like an L at the end of it. So like that's the end of it. So it's kind of awkward to hold on to. I mean, you can, but it's not that comfortable to hold on to without the handle. Oh, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome to the flock, or as people like to say, the flamboyance, which is what a flock of flamingos is apparently called, which I find interesting. We tend to just call it a flock. Sorry, my voice is being stupid right now. Bad allergy day. But yeah, I mean, we're getting there. Definitely a lot slower than paint, and we have followed... Hang on, let me get some allergy medicine. See if that helps the situation. We have followed along with the Bob Ross tutorials with paint before. But I figured, let's try this. I've not seen anybody attempt to do it with needle felting. Probably because it's going to take forever and a day. But I was like, let's give it a go. So we have done a few. And I've got a couple of them for sale on the Kofi page. I did have an Etsy shop, but Etsy got weird with how they were verifying checking accounts, and I'm like, I've got too many other things attached to this checking account that I don't want your grubby little hands for your third-party verification system checking. So, yeah, we'll find something else. We'll find a different alternative. But I just started, I finally figured out how to display these things without having to go through the hassle of putting them in a frame, because they get pretty thick. And you'd have to take the glass out or get something custom done to frame these guys if you wanted it framed. So I decided to go with like a scroll wall hanging type of situation. I actually have to put the rest of the ones that I have up on the Kofi page because I haven't updated the shop over there in a while. So we've moved on to attaching dowel rods that are flat on one side to the top and to the bottom. Sorry, I'm trying to see if that's a thin spot or just the way the light's hitting it. It might just be the way the light's hitting it. I'll know for sure once we start getting the beach worked in. A little bit better. Because we're doing the water first. And then we're going to come back in and then do our light colored sandy beach. And then there's some gray that he's got in there. That's kind of merging the two together. I actually need to get some new pictures put up on, or I need to take some new pictures to put up on the Kofi and the Instagram. Just every time I think about it, the sun's already gone down. I gotta find where the camera ended up too. I think I know where it is. But I also don't know if the husband put the settings back on it from the last time we had it out. So I'm probably gonna need his help with it. Maybe tomorrow if I remember. We can get some of that done. I hate pulling out the camera for like one picture though. Well, I guess I have two that we can take. Maybe three. Maybe we'll get a progress picture done on this one with the correct coloring. Since my camera's being weird about that one shade. Alright. So we'll get this guy put into here. Okay. We're slowly getting it filled in, so we have this bit in here, so we should get this section at least with the watercolor finished today. This one's been a lot of large blocks of color, which is a little surprising. was kind of surprised he didn't try to put any detail on the mountains in the back, but he usually lives for that. So when he didn't, I was like, Which makes me wonder if one of the episodes towards the end of this season isn't a companion piece to this, which makes me wonder if it is, excuse me. Because I think it was reference photos from the same area that he used, because the mountains in the background are very similar. Very, very similar. Alright, so yeah, we'll have enough of this color. I'll probably have to fluff more of it. More than likely. If I had shelves to use for storage, I would probably fluff the entirety of the skeins of yarn as I get them. If I had containers big enough to put the fluff in. Like get the cheap little shoebox containers from Dollar Tree. And put it all in there. Right now I'm stuck using Ziploc bags. Because of the space I have available for storage. So we don't really have closets, and I don't really have wall space to put up any kind of shelves or anything. So we've had to get creative with storage. So I've got like some string nailed into the wall, kind of making a clothesline kind of deal. And I've got these little bags of fluff all clothespinned to it. I mean, it feels ridiculous, but it works. What can I say? You know, if it works, it works. But I can only get so much fluff in the little Ziplocs, so I could try going to a larger Ziploc, but I'd rather not, if I can help it. So until such a time that I have the room to do the storage containers, we'll be doing this. Although if I do get shelves and put the containers on there, I'm gonna have to make like screen doors to put around the edge of the shelving or the front of the shelving, depending on what kind of shelves they are, because Cow likes to climb and get into everything, and he would be up there in like 5 minutes flat, knocking every single container off. And then I would really not be happy, so kind of have to work around what I know could possibly happen. Alright, so this guy, we're getting closer to the shore. Alright, so that spot there is going to be a little short, but that's okay. Because we've got that other color coming in, so it can be a little bit shorter. That doesn't have to completely meet up right there. Alright. Getting that all worked into there. It was a little bit of a bigger piece, so it's going to take a little bit more time to get him attached. Okay. Gently pull that up. And I'm just kind of brushing everybody down here. Make sure everybody's sitting properly. Alright, so we're getting there. We are getting there. And if you do notice like a spot looks a little bit thin, or your felt color underneath is shining through and you're unhappy about that, just grab another piece of fluff and tack it in over top of it. That's an easy fix. Super, super easy. And I'm just making sure our colors are our sections of fluff are overlapping each other here. Just makes it look a little bit better. We tend not to have too many weird seam issues going on doing that. I'm trying to keep my fingers bent, the ones that aren't protected, and out of the way. So like I said earlier, that can really hurt if you get a needle in there. So we get this bottom edge tapped into here. And like I said, we're gonna have some dirt. There's another layer of dirt or shoreline or something that's in here, so we will get that sorted down the road as we get there. But right now at this moment, that's not anything we need to worry about. Okay. So we're looking pretty good so far. Feels extra dark in here for some reason today. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I didn't open the curtain today. It's too hot to open the curtain. Our room gets the bulk of the sun through the day. And it can get incredibly warm in here, incredibly fast. And the AC doesn't do much in that case, so it's just easier to try to leave that pulled to for the most part. It's been pretty hot so far. This first full month of summer here. Alright. Whoop. I'm hoping we'll be able to have a better sense of where our Van Dyke Brown stops and where our background trees pick up once we start getting those trees highlighted. And he does highlight them eventually. He didn't do it in true Bob fashion and did it right after he put them in. For some reason he jumped to this and then to the beach line and then goes back to it, which kind of surprised me because he usually goes tree, darkness, and then the highlights come in most of the time. Alright. Working on getting this guy put in here. I might need to add another little bit there, but I'm not sure. We could cover that with some more of our dark brown that's going to come back in. Might not necessarily need to happen. The back doesn't look half bad either. I mean, that's got its own bit of quality going on for it. We're getting pretty stiff though, with all the fluff in here. So we're about 12 minutes into a 26-minute tutorial. We haven't done the beach yet, so we're probably still like at 10 minutes. We're a little behind, Bob. That's okay. That's okay, because we can take our time. We don't have to have a finished piece in a half an hour. Could you imagine if he had been alive for, you know, Twitch to really become a thing and really take off? Like, can you imagine what he would have done? And how in-depth his explanations could be when he wasn't necessarily on a strict time limit. So, I mean, even YouTube in its infancy, your videos couldn't be more than 15 minutes. It might have been 10 when it first started. I remember it being 15-minute segments at one point. Then we would have really seen some Wild and Crazy Bob. More than likely. Because all of these ones for the Joy of Painting tutorials that ended up on like PBS and stuff, he was on a half-hour time limit. Okay, let's get this guy layered up here. I have just a little bit more left to lay in here. Need to fill in some gaps. As best as we can. All right. Get this all tapped into place. Then we'll need just a little bit more right in there. I mean, I know we're gonna have that other color, and I wasn't worried so much about the seams here, because that other color is going to go on top, but I just want the consistency of that gap, because that's a pretty good sized gap, all things considered, to be filled in. Okay. Alright, last little bit here on this color. Tuck that back into its bag. I guess there was more there than I thought. I did have it pretty tightly smooshed in there. Okay, so like this edge can be a little bit wonky, that's fine. Hi, kitty. Can I help you? Nope, there she goes. Okay. My was stepping on the box I have my feet on. I didn't know what she was up to down there. She's not normally under my desk. So that was definitely a bit of a surprise. Okay. So, I mean, we've got a little bit of overlapping where you can kind of see different chunks of color getting laid in there, but I think we're alright. Sometimes the lighter colors can be a bit more fussy in how they get laid in. Okay, let me move these clothespins because I've got the bags of color that we're currently using hung up next to me in case we need another bit of it. So what color is this? This is light caramel, and this is from Paintbox yarn from their Simply Chunky line. Much softer than this one. Incredibly softer. I don't know, should we use this color or should we use a different color? I mean, this is kind of like a sandy color. He's got more of like a cream. Cream might be a little too much though. It might be a little too white. You know what? We'll just go with this one. Alright, where's our skizzers? We're gonna have to do some cutting here. Alright, so this guy, I'm thinking maybe around in here. Just to work on getting some sand tapped in. And don't forget, we've got this other bit of land he's going to be putting in here. I don't want to completely fill it in with this color because it's not going to be this color. So if we jump forward a little bit, yeah, see, like right in here he starts to bring in the dark like Van Dyke brown again. So he does come back and put tree trunks on those. Okay. That's a bit of a surprise. So we're gonna see how we go with getting this color worked in here. So this color can probably be a little bit more airy. Potentially. And this one can have some thinner spots where that other color underneath is going to be shining up through a bit. But take your time in through here. Actually, take your time with the whole thing. You don't need to rush this. We're not racing anybody. Doesn't have to be done in a certain amount of time. So you work it till you've got it where you're happy with it. I mean, you don't have to keep base with bob or anything. That's the magic of the pause button. Where we can be like, okay, we need a minute to catch up. Alright, now that did get a little bit thinner in there, so I might add a little bit more on top of that bit right there. I mean, we did kind of trim that down a little, and that's okay that we did that. I mean, you're okay and you're allowed, more than allowed, to trim your fiber bits to fit the area that you're trying to fit it into. I mean, that's not a big deal. I will say, if you do trim it though, and you've got loose ends, just take a few extra moments to make sure that all your loose little guys are attached to there. Trying to grab up all of those loose bits there. Just to try to anchor them in. So they're not running too willy-nilly all over. Becoming a problem. grab a bit more fluff here. So try to figure out where exactly we want our shoreline to extend to. Got a piece of fuzz stuck to me somewhere. There it is. It's stuck to the needle. Okay. Oh, it's stuck in my handle. Okay, well that's been there for a little bit then. I'm just now noticing it. Like something keeps getting caught up on my fingers. What the heck is it? So I was a little unsure of this color, bringing this in, but now that we're in here, I think we're doing okay. Kind of has a sandy kind of feel to it. I definitely like that we are getting a little bit of the multi-tone of the strands of this color coming in. It doesn't have to be full on solid, but you can definitely see some of the whiter bits here. Well, that's why we have finger protectors. Because you never know if you're gonna miss. And if you are gonna miss or accidentally start to tap down before you're where you're supposed to be, it's always a good idea to have those on. Now I'm using a small gauge needle. I don't know the actual number on it. It just says small on the toolkit that I ended up with. And I no longer have the paperwork for it. I could probably find it back on Amazon again, but I have a feeling it's just gonna have small on it. So I tried using the medium gauge and that felt really heavy to me, and that made my hand tire pretty quickly. Okay, so we're working on it. Like I said, you fuss with it till you're happy. That's all it's really gonna come down to. Is, you know, play around with it till you're happy with what's going on here. So I'm gonna start to bring this color up into our Van Dyke brown here just a little bit. I mean, we do have our taupe color that's gonna kind of marry these two a bit better, but at the same time I don't want to neglect bringing it up, because I do think it needs to be up there at least in some spots. I mean, a good deal of it might get covered up with the taupe, but at least it's there and it can shine through in a couple spots. Wherever it decides to do so. And if you want this to be thicker, then go for it. You know, like Bob says, make it your own. How you see things is probably going to be different how he sees things. And we don't have the luxury of seeing his reference photos, so that makes it a little bit more of a challenge. So we are pretty much kind of guessing here as to what he was using, what his reference looked like, and how he was seeing it. But he would pull his references from anywhere, books, magazines, you know, actual photographs. So, you know, we don't know what the original image or combination of images was. Because I'm sure it morphed over time, because he did like 3 of the same thing. So he did like his base reference that he painted, right? And then he'd have another one that he did to try to get it done within the half hour, and then he had the one that he did on the show. So who's to say how much it changed? We'll never know. I'm sure there's some people that know. But we ourselves probably won't know. Okay, so I'm gonna grab another little bit of fluff here. I'm being a little bit sparing with this, not too much, but a little bit. Mostly due to just how I want to get this in here. I am glad that we put the water fully in first, because I was originally starting to second guess myself. I was like, well, maybe we want the water going in on top, and then I'm like, no, we'll keep going with this. But I'm glad we decided to keep going, and that I didn't change my mind, because now this color is weaving into the water and it looks pretty good with how that is settling in there. And I gotta say, I am liking that effect quite a bit. So I'm trying not to get these too thick. I mean, I'm kind of rolling them into their little fluff snakes, but at the same time, I'm also wanting to be, you know, a little bit loose with it. This is going to kind of continue all the way around, and then in here it's going to kind of come down at a bit of an angle. So probably going to work on the shoreline aspect of this curve first. Before we go too far out into the water. And again, it doesn't have to be dead on to Bob's. It can look a little bit different. I mean, we want to try to be similar, but it can be a little different. Alright, so I'm gonna kind of jump to up here just a little. Just so I can start to get my angle right. Because I think this might have to come out just a little bit further. Not by a huge amount, but I'm thinking just a little. But we'll see, we'll see. Yeah, I'm definitely happy with this color now. seriously considering swapping to that cream color, but I think the cream would have been a little too white for this. For sure. Alright. Get this guy looking pretty good. Ah! Starting to stick to everything but what I want it to do. Okay. Get this guy. Put into here. Now again, this edge on the beach doesn't have to be perfect. Because we're gonna come back in with another color. It's gonna kind of overlap the two. Just a little bit. I might need to add a little bit more in there. Closer to the shoreline. So I'm just kind of doing a little fluff snake here, just to make it a little bit easier to control. So we don't have too many fibers being all willy-nilly in here. So yeah, I think I am going to extend this bit out into the water just a little bit more. Not too terribly much more, but a little bit. Once I get our curved area worked in here. Now looking at Bob's, it kind of looks like he gave himself a lot more water room than I gave us. And, you know, that happens. my perception of stuff. Sometimes it's kind of why I do the, why I put these pen lines in. So I don't get too carried away without them. Because it's very easy to do. Especially when Bob doesn't draw anything out, so sometimes we will skip to the end, get a feel of where everything is, or we'll do it off of the concept sketch that we started doing, which is what that is in the upper left-hand corner. Is sort of a test run that we did with colored pencils, so I could work out in my brain what shades I had planned on doing ahead of time. Now, sometimes that changes. Sometimes I get in there and I get a better look at what Bob's doing, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so, you know, maybe this color would actually fit a little bit better, and that's fine. It's just sometimes I have such decision-making paralysis, I guess we'll call it, that I get stuck and I'm like, I don't know what color I should use. So sometimes it's just easier to predetermine that. And when we're doing those reference test sketches, they're really fast, they're really messy. Well, fast for me is like 45 minutes. But, you know, because we're also trying to make decisions and work out stuff. I mean, that is fast compared to how long it takes us to do a finished piece here. Technically. So if we want to get downright technical with it, and I am trying to fit at least 2 potential reference sketches in one go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I do try to do 3, but the last time we just didn't have time to get the 3rd one in with the time I had available on that particular day. Alright, but so far I think we're doing pretty good. Like I said, we're gonna have this other like gray tone coming in here that's kind of sit on both of these colors to an extent. So we're still in a bit of the hot mess stage, but we're getting there. Well, we kind of came out of the hot mess stage and now we're kind of going back in. It happens. But at least it's a little bit more of an organized hot mess. Kinda. That was a little too spread out there. at least a little bit too thin for my liking, so I'll probably have to come back in with one more piece for in here. And that's fine. Alrighty, so we'll grab a little bit more. It's probably a little too much for where this is going in. Alright, so this guy. Not supposed to stick to that. Okay. Work on getting this closer edge. Got fluff everywhere. Sometimes when you're dealing with the thinner bits, it's actually a little bit trickier. Making sure that they're all attached. So again, you don't need to rush through this. Take your time. I mean, if you're able to speed demon your way through it, then go ahead. But there's just no need to. It's not like the paint's gonna dry out, the fluff's not gonna dry out on us, it's not paint. And we're not like beating a medium. We're not trying to make sure that a medium doesn't dry out on us, it's just the fluff. It's just the fluff. Okay, do remember to, if you're using this mat, like the wool or the felting mat, I would strongly suggest every so often, when you're done attaching a particular bit of fluff, to just kind of pull it up off the pad so it doesn't attach itself to the pad. Because I have had that happen. And it was a bit of a trial. Trying to get it off of there. Well, I don't know, maybe we don't need to come down too much further into there like I was originally thinking. We'll see. And I might add a little bit more in that spot, but then again, maybe not. Have to see how things are looking here. Alright, now let's see here. Get this guy sort of positioned in there, I guess. might need to add a little bit more right in there. We'll see. We'll see. See how this lays in here. So yeah, we'll probably have to add a little bit more into this section. Not too much, but just a little. Okay. So we'll get that guy worked into there. Now we don't have the benefit of brush strokes here, helping us to convey angles or movement, but we can sort of get our fluff laid in such a way to attempt to convey that. It's a little bit trickier, but it can be done. Alright. So we've got some of the water peeking through up in there, that's fine. Because of what's gonna happen coming up. So that's okay. We're just gonna do our best to ignore that bit there. And this coming in is helping to establish where water and land are meeting each other. Even if it is painstakingly slowly. I always hold that thing like I'm afraid to put it down. I mean, I understand why I do it, because sometimes I don't find it again. I set it down, I'm like, where the hell did I put it? I mean, we eventually find it, but a lot of the times I just stab it into the mat. And that helps quite a bit. So it doesn't roll away on me. Okay, I do want to bring this back in a little bit. Kind of want to lay that in there. So that got a little bit thinner than I necessarily wanted it to be. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with coming back in and adding 2. If you feel like it needs it. Sorry, that was a weird noise. It sounded like somebody ate something. There shouldn't be anything for anybody to eat. Terribly, terribly odd. Okay. So part of me still wants to add a little bit more in there, but another part of me is like, no, don't overdo. So we'll see. See what happens there with that. Let go. So one good thing about having this thing on my hand today, it's letting us grab the fluff a little bit easier. Since it keeps trying to attach to it. Alright, so I think we did some pretty good progress today. We got our water finished. Well, the base water finished at least. Our beach line is going to be a little, not terribly time consuming, but a little bit since we're needing to fuss with it to get it to where we're happy. And he's going to have like water lines and stuff coming in here, so we might have to come back in with a little bit of our watercolor. We'll see. How that goes. Right now, though, I do want to come back in with just a little bit more. So I feel like that's a little too. Now he did cover a lot of this beach color coming in with some of the gray. So this is going to be one of those sections where we're sort of interpreting it on our own for how we are seeing it. And where it might end up being a little bit different than how Bob's came out. So I'm going to hit that with just a little bit more. Not that much. There we go. That's probably just a few strands there. Fill in our shoreline there just a little bit. Next bit of fluff. Alright. Let's see if we can get this to cooperate here. Sometimes we can. Sometimes we can't. Just kind of all depends, really. Alright, so I'm going to snip this guy a little bit longer than I wanted. Let's see if we can start getting our angles really established here for bringing in our other color, which we didn't start to do yet. We will be shortly though. Well, shortly as in most likely next week, looking at what time we're at right now, so. that's looking a little bit better. More to what I was hoping for. Alright. So I think that's where we're gonna pause today. Sunday, when we're gonna be back on this guy, we'll finish getting in our sand, basically, or well, our water sand, and then we'll start to lay in our gray color that kind of overlaps the two a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So that's the plan for next week. Now, I don't have anything scheduled on the channel until Thursday for Coral Island. I don't know if we'll be back doing anything extra this week. We'll have to see how I'm feeling and how my hand's cooperating. I might just not do anything extra this week and just, you know, let the hand chill. I might have to teach my left hand how to do some art to give that some rest time. That would be quite the scene. We'll see. If I'm terribly bored, we might stream left hand art. I don't know. My left hand's kind of dumb and it doesn't know how to do much of anything. So, we'll see. So I hope you guys have a great week. Enjoy the holiday. For those of you that are in the States, enjoy it responsibly. And stay safe weather-wise, because it looks like later this week we're going to get a little bit wild again with the weather. And until next time, you guys, have a good one.